All right, get ready for a deep dive today.
Oh, yeah.
Into the life of a true scientific polymath, Hermann von Helmholtz.
A fascinating guy.
We've got excerpts from his biography.
Okay.
So we'll uncover some surprising facts about this 19th century giant and his impact on science that we still feel today.
I think people will be surprised to hear
Yeah.
that Helmholtz wasn't just a brilliant scientist, but also, like, a true Renaissance man.
Definitely a Renaissance man.
His work spanned, well, just about everything.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
Physiology, physics, optics, even music theory.
It's wild.
You know, it's amazing to see how his understanding of so many different fields led to those big revolutionary insights.
Yeah, and his biography really paints this picture of someone so deeply curious about the world. It all started in Potsdam, Germany, back in 1821.
Right.
His father, a teacher, really nurtured in him this love for art, music, and philosophy.
So almost like he was destined to bridge that gap between science and the arts.
Yeah, like it was in his blood.
But, you know, his path wasn't a straight line to scientific discovery.
Really?
Young Helmholtz, he actually pursued a medical career.
Oh, wow.
At his father's urging.
Interesting.
He attended the Friedrich Wilhelm Institute in Berlin.
Okay.
Which, this is interesting, required him to serve as a military surgeon for several years.
After graduation.
After graduation.
Wow.
I mean, just imagine the impact that this must have had on his early work.
It makes you wonder what observations he was making during those years.
Oh, for sure.
But speaking of Berlin,
Yes,
that's where things really start to take off for Helmholtz.
they do.
He dives headfirst into the city's scientific scene, collaborating with pioneers like Johannes Müller and Émile Dubois-Reymond.
Now, this is where we see the evolution of scientific thinking really unfolding.
Oh, okay.
They were part of a movement shifting away from, like, natural philosophy towards a more empirical, hands-on approach.
Okay.
Müller especially emphasized observation and experimentation. You know, laying the groundwork for how we do science today.
Yeah.
And Helmholtz was right there.
In the thick of it.
In the thick of it.
It's like they were laying the foundation for all the breakthroughs that were about to happen.
Exactly.
And it's in this environment that Helmholtz publishes his groundbreaking 1847 paper.
On the conservation of force.
Yes, this paper, was this a radical idea back then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Before Helmholtz, people thought of energy as this, I don't know, almost magical force tied to very specific phenomena. But he shows that energy is a fundamental principle that governs everything.
Wow.
I mean, from the stars to our own bodies.
So he brought it all together under this unifying concept.
He did. It was huge.
It's hard to overstate how big of a shift that was in scientific thinking.
It really is.
But Helmholtz didn't just stop at theory, right?
No.
He conducted these meticulous experiments.
Oh, yeah.
On muscle contraction, meticulously measuring chemical changes.
It was so precise.
To prove that even physiological processes could be understood through a quantitative lens.
That's what's so fascinating, the level of precision he brought to physiology.
Yeah.
He wasn't just observing anymore. He was measuring, quantifying, borrowing techniques from physics.
Wow.
Bringing a whole new level of rigor to the field.
So he was really ahead of his time.
But, you know, it's important to remember that his ideas initially faced resistance.
Oh, really?
From some of the more established scientists at the time.
I guess they just weren't ready for it.
They found his concepts too radical, too speculative.
Interesting.
So, yeah, even groundbreaking ideas need time to take root sometimes.
So Helmholtz moves on to Königsberg in 1849, taking on the role of professor of physiology.
Yeah.
And while he was there, his interest in perception led to a truly remarkable invention. The ophthalmoscope.
Now, this device allowed doctors to see the retina for the first time.
Yeah, but it's not just the invention itself.
Right.
It's how he came up with it that's so interesting.
Oh, his resourcefulness was incredible.
Yeah, I read about that.
He used everyday objects like, get this, his wife's hair curlers.
No way.
And his children's building blocks to construct his initial prototypes.
What?
Talk about ingenuity.
He was like a 19th century MacGyver or something.
Yeah.
But jokes aside,
right.
The ophthalmoscope wasn't just a cool gadget.
It was a game changer.
It was a game changer for ophthalmology.
Absolutely.
So how did this invention actually change the field? Like what kind of eye diseases could now be diagnosed that were impossible to see before.
Well, before the ophthalmoscope, diagnosing eye diseases was largely based on external observation and what the patient could describe.
Oh, right.
So the ability to actually see the retina opened up a whole new world.
Oh, wow.
Doctors could now directly observe conditions like retinal detachment, glaucoma, even signs of systemic diseases like diabetes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It revolutionized the way we diagnose and treat eye problems.
It's incredible to think of the impact one invention can have.
Yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Helmholtz's contributions to understanding vision.
Right, because he was also fascinated by color perception.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He was building on the work of Thomas Young,
Okay.
who had proposed the concept of trichromacy.
Trichromacy.
Which is the idea that we see color through 3 types of receptors in our eyes, each sensitive to a different range of wavelengths of light.
Okay.
And Helmholtz developed these sophisticated experiments.
Yeah.
He even built this contraption with a V-shaped slit.
To do what?
To precisely mix spectral colors, all to prove Young's theory.
So basically what he showed was that all the colors we see are just combinations of these 3 primary colors detected by our eyes.
You got it.
Wow.
Think about it. We take color for granted today.
Yeah.
I mean, our screens, the clothes we wear.
Right.
Helmholtz's work helped us understand how we see the world.
In all its colorful glory.
Exactly.
It makes you appreciate something as simple as seeing a color in a whole new light.
It really does.
But he didn't stop at just color perception.
No. Yeah.
He also investigated things like the Purkinje shift.
Yes, the Purkinje shift.
So that explains why blue colors appear more prominent at night.
Exactly.
Okay.
So as light levels decrease, our eyes become more sensitive to blue wavelength.
Okay.
It's why, for instance, a blue flower might appear brighter than a red flower.
At night.
Under moonlight, exactly.
Interesting.
And Helmholtz, with his meticulous approach, was able to unravel the physiological mechanisms behind this phenomenon.
Wow. It's amazing how he was able to connect these seemingly subtle phenomena to the, intricate workings of the human eye.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
But his curiosity didn't end there.
It didn't.
He also dove into the world of sound and music. And this wasn't just a hobby for him, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
Music was another avenue for scientific exploration for Helmholtz. I mean, he was a gifted musician himself.
Oh, wow.
And even wrote a book on the subject.
Really?
On the sensations of tone as a physiological basis for the theory of music.
What a title.
He was especially intrigued by timbre.
Timbre? You mean what makes a violin sound different from a flute?
Exactly.
Even when they're playing the same note?
That's it.
Okay.
And Helmholtz was able to link timbre to the specific combination of overtones or harmonics present in the sound.
Interesting.
He even went all in, inventing the double siren.
Okay.
A device that allowed him to precisely generate musical tones for his experiments.
Wow.
And just like with color, he connected the physics of sound waves.
Right.
Things like frequency and amplitude.
Okay.
To our subjective experience of musical harmony.
So he was basically laying the groundwork for the science of sound engineering.
He really was.
That's incredible.
We've seen him revolutionize our understanding of energy, vision, and music.
Yeah.
This guy just never stopped exploring.
So where does his journey take him next?
Well, you'd think after a lifetime of such groundbreaking discoveries, he might have been content to, rest on his laurels a bit.
Yeah.
But that wasn't Helmholtz's style.
Definitely not. This guy never slowed down.
It seems like he was constantly seeking new challenges, always pushing the boundaries of what was known.
The biography describes him as being just as active and engaged in his later years as he was in his youth.
Always learning, always exploring.
This was a man driven by, an insatiable curiosity.
Absolutely, and you see that in his later work, too.
Okay.
Take his work on the axioms of geometry, for example.
Okay.
He's exploring the very foundation of how we understand space, going beyond just practical applications, delving into the philosophical underpinnings of the universe.
Wow, that's really pushing the boundaries of what science could even explain back then.
It was. But even though his interests were so diverse, was there a common thread running through all of his work?
Definitely, yeah.
Helmholtz consistently championed rigorous observation, experimentation, and mathematical analysis to unlock the secrets of nature.
And this commitment is really evident in his later work on thermodynamics, right?
Exactly, thermodynamics.
So that's the study of heat and energy.
Yes, and Helmholtz's contributions help refine our understanding of these fundamental processes.
And it was around this time that he started gaining some serious recognition.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his talents were in high demand.
He was being courted by some major institutions.
Both in Germany and in Britain?
Both.
Wow. So what kind of opportunities were coming his way?
Well, in 1871, he was offered the directorship of the Cavendish Laboratory at Cambridge.
Wow.
One of the most prestigious physics labs in the world.
That's a huge honor.
It was.
So did he pack his bags and head for England?
He actually turned it down.
He did.
Around the same time, the German government proposed a brand new institution, the Imperial Institute of Physics and Technology in Berlin. Later, it became known as the Physikalisch-Technische Reichsanstalt, or PTR.
Right.
They envisioned it as a world-leading research center, dedicated to advancing scientific knowledge and driving technological innovation.
And they wanted Helmholtz to lead it.
They wanted him to be the founding president.
Wow, what a tough decision.
It was. I mean, national pride probably played a role.
Yeah.
But it seems the deciding factor was the ambition of the German project.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just offering him a job.
Right.
They were giving him the opportunity to build an entire institute from scratch.
So he could shape its direction, assemble a team of brilliant minds.
Exactly.
Create a lasting legacy.
Put Germany at the forefront of scientific and technological progress.
So it was the challenge and the potential impact that really drew him in.
That's what it seems like.
Plus, I'm sure they offered him a few perks.
Oh, they did.
Okay.
A generous salary of 4,000 thalers. A considerable sum back then.
Wow.
That was just the beginning.
Okay.
They promised to build a state-of-the-art physics institute, equipped with everything he needed for his research and teaching.
Oh, nice.
He had complete control over the design and outfitting of the institute.
Wow.
He even got a housing allowance until it was finished.
They really pulled out all the stops.
They did.
They knew they weren't dealing with just any scientists.
They recognized him as a visionary leader who could transform the scientific landscape.
So did he live up to their expectations?
He did.
He did.
Under his leadership, the PTR became a hotbed of innovation, attracting top scientists from all over Germany and beyond.
That's awesome.
Helmholtz's vision was clear. To bridge the gap between pure scientific research and practical applications.
Right.
He wanted to see scientific discoveries translated into tangible benefits for society.
Wow.
Driving technological advancement and economic growth.
That's remarkable, especially for the 19th century.
It was forward-thinking.
It's like he was anticipating institutions like MIT and Caltech.
Exactly.
Those places that are known for their focus on applied science.
He understood that science wasn't just about pursuing knowledge for its own sake. It was about using that knowledge to improve the world.
And the PTR really became a model for other research institutes, proving the value of investing in scientific infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And fostering collaboration between scientists from different disciplines.
It's a big leap, though, to go from being a professor to running an entire scientific enterprise.
It is.
How did Helmholtz handle the transition?
Well, I mean, he seems to have taken to it quite naturally.
Yeah.
You know, he had a real knack for administration, for organizing and leading teams, for securing funding for important projects.
He was also a gifted communicator.
Yeah.
Able to explain complex scientific concepts in a clear and engaging way.
Right.
And that was crucial for building support for the PTR's work.
So not only a brilliant scientist, but also a savvy politician and a master networker.
He understood that to make a real impact,
you
need to be able to navigate those institutional complexities and build relationships with influential people.
And we can't forget about his influence as a mentor.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he trained a whole generation of scientists.
Right.
Many of whom went on to make their own significant contributions to their fields.
Think about Heinrich Hertz.
Okay.
Inspired by Helmholtz's theories to conduct those groundbreaking experiments on electromagnetic waves.
That's a true sign of a real scientific leader.
It is, not just making discoveries themselves, but inspiring others to push the boundaries of knowledge as well.
It's a powerful reminder that scientific progress is a collaborative effort.
Built on the work of generations of researchers.
Speaking of generations, it's important to remember that Helmholtz was more than just a scientist.
Yeah.
I mean, he was also a husband, a father, navigating the complexities of life.
Right, like the rest of us.
Exactly. And the biography mentions his wife, Olga von Velten.
Yeah.
It seems like she played a significant role in his life, not just as a spouse, but as an intellectual companion as well.
From what I've read, Olga was a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
Came from a prominent family, known for her intelligence, her social grace, and her passion for the arts. Their home was a gathering place for Berlin's intellectual elite.
I can just imagine.
Lively discussions on science, philosophy, music, and literature.
It's like this picture of Helmholtz, surrounded by all these brilliant minds, debating the latest scientific theories, maybe even playing some music together.
He was quite the accomplished pianist.
Yeah, wasn't he?
He was.
I mean, music was so central to his life.
It was a source of intellectual stimulation and emotional solace.
And it sounds like Olga shared this passion.
She did.
Often accompanying him on social visits and even assisting with his acoustic experiments.
It sounds like they were true partners.
Yeah.
Supporting each other's intellectual pursuits.
I mean, their connection seems to have gone beyond just shared interests.
Yeah.
The biography mentions this, like, really touching anecdote.
Oh.
That reveals the depth of their affection for each other.
The letters.
Yeah, so in 1859, Helmholtz had to travel to England for a scientific conference,
right?
Leaving Olga behind in Heidelberg. And throughout his trip, he wrote her these incredibly tender letters.
Expressing his longing for her and describing his experiences in such vivid detail.
It's like getting a glimpse into their private world.
It is.
Seeing this softer side to this giant of science.
So what kind of things did he write about in these letters?
Well, he wrote about everything.
Okay.
His scientific observations, but also his everyday experiences. He even wrote about visiting an art gallery, and you can tell he wasn't just passively observing the paintings.
Yeah.
He was experiencing them emotionally.
Right.
Reflecting on how Olga might feel if she saw them too.
I remember that part. He even compared the colors in one painting to the color of her eyes.
That's so romantic.
It is, and it highlights something important about Helmholtz.
Okay.
Art wasn't just a subject of study for him.
Right.
It was a deeply personal experience. A way to connect with his own emotions and with those he loved.
And this brings us to a crucial point about Helmholtz's legacy.
Okay.
He wasn't just a brilliant scientist who made these groundbreaking discoveries.
No, he was more than that.
He was a man who saw the interconnectedness of knowledge, who believed that science could actually enhance our appreciation of art and beauty.
And he lived his life with a passion for both.
That's such a powerful message, especially today.
It is.
Where we tend to compartmentalize knowledge and separate science from the arts.
Yeah, it's like he was showing us a different way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
A more holistic and integrated approach.
Exactly. He was like a true 19th century Renaissance man.
Showing that scientific understanding doesn't have to diminish our sense of wonder.
Or our appreciation for beauty.
In fact, it can actually deepen it.
So as we conclude this part of our deep dive into the life and work of Hermann von Helmholtz, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say Helmholtz's life shows us that science is more than just facts and theories. It's a way of engaging with the world, of asking questions, seeking understanding, and ultimately finding beauty and meaning in the seemingly mundane.
Beautifully said.
Helmholtz challenges us to look beyond the surface, to see the interconnectedness of everything, to approach life with curiosity and wonder.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe some of our listeners, inspired by Helmholtz's story, will go on to make their own contributions to science, art, or maybe even both.
That would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
It would.
Welcome back. It's great to have you with us again as we continue to learn more about Hermann von Helmholtz. Last time we left off talking about Helmholtz's relationship with his wife, Olga. What else can you tell me about her?
Well, Olga von Velten was truly an exceptional woman. I mean, she came from a very prominent family and was known for her sharp intellect, social grace, and a deep passion for the arts. Their home in Berlin became a hub for the city's intellectual elite.
You know, I can just imagine those gatherings at their home. Helmholtz, surrounded by all these brilliant minds, maybe debating the latest scientific theories, or perhaps even playing music together.
Well, he was a very accomplished pianist, as you know.
He was, and it seems like Olga shared that passion for music, too.
She did. She often accompanied him on social visits, and even assisted with some of his acoustic experiments.
Wow, so they were more than just husband and wife.
Oh, absolutely.
They were true partners, supporting each other's intellectual pursuits.
It seems like a very special connection.
There was a genuine depth of affection there.
Yes, and there's this really touching anecdote in the biography that reveals just how deep their connection really was.
Oh, you mean those letters he wrote to her while he was away in England?
Exactly. In 1859, Helmholtz had to travel to England for a scientific conference.
Right.
And throughout his trip, he wrote her these incredibly tender letters.
Pouring out his heart, expressing how much he missed her.
And describing all of his experiences in such vivid detail.
It's amazing, we get this intimate glimpse into their private world. We
Yeah.
see this softer side of this towering figure of science.
What really struck me was the range of things he wrote about.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, of course, he shared his scientific observations, but he also wrote about everyday experiences,
Okay.
like visiting an art gallery.
Yeah.
He was clearly moved by the experience. He wasn't just looking at the paintings, he was feeling them,
Right.
reflecting on how those feelings might resonate with Olga.
It's like he was seeing the art through her eyes.
It's beautiful, and he even compared the colors in one painting to the color of her eyes.
Wow, that's so romantic.
It really is. It reminds us that scientists, like artists, are driven by this desire to understand and express the beauty and complexity of the world.
So Helmholtz truly blurred those lines between science and art.
Not just in his work, but in his life as well.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into the life and work of Hermann von Helmholtz, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I think it's this. Helmholtz's life shows us that science is more than just a collection of facts and theories. It's a way of engaging with the world, of asking questions, of seeking understanding, and ultimately of finding beauty and meaning in the seemingly mundane.
That's beautifully put. Helmholtz encourages us to look beyond the surface, to find those connections, and to approach life with that same sense of curiosity and wonder that he had.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners, inspired by Helmholtz's story, will go on to make their own contributions to science, to art, or maybe even both.
That would be amazing. And on that hopeful note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the fascinating world of Hermann von Helmholtz. We encourage you to explore further, to learn more about this extraordinary individual, and to let his legacy inspire you to embrace the beauty of scientific discovery and the interconnectedness of knowledge. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.